Ready to find your flow? AFSA's got you covered.
That's right. The hands-on training lab in Richardson, Texas is where you trade PowerPoints for pipe wrenches. Real tools, real systems, and real experience you can actually use.
And if you're ready to test your skills, check out the hands-on NFPA 25 workshops, where you'll inspect, test, and maintain live sprinkler systems and fire pumps. No simulations, no fluff, just pressure, flow, and know-how.
It's the perfect way to get under pressure without cracking under it.
So get fired up and register today at firesprinkler.org. Spots fill faster than a charged branch line.
AFSA, where you don't just learn the code, you live it. Welcome to the K Factor podcast, where we turn up the heat on all things fire protection. Brought to you by the American Fire Sprinkler Association, this podcast sparks conversations about the latest technology, trends, and tools shaping the industry. Join the AFSA tech team as we fan the flames of innovation in fire safety.
Welcome to another episode of the K Factor podcast. I do just need to you did such a good job on that pre-roll. Rolling into that, Nate. And I appreciate it. Well, we're back here with Kevin Hall. We noticed that last time we didn't dive as deep as we were looking into the updates to NFPA 13. I think we got some good information on the last one, but a couple strange things like our camera. I'm not sure it was ready for YouTube.
Yeah, all the technologies did not work out last time. so we'll see how it goes this time.
So here we are. We will dive into the updates. What edition are we looking at now?
Yeah, so we're looking at the 2028 edition of NFPA 13.
I'm not even sure I'll be alive.
I think you will be.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's hard because, working on the association side, we're always on the next one. As soon as the 2025 edition was up, the 2028 edition opened up for public input, and we're just keep on moving. And
it's
then
hard in class.
Then we're teaching these classes, and it's based on 2022 or 2025 edition. And I start rambling on about stuff we discussed at the public input stage for the first draft meeting, and they're all just like, "The heck are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's not in there yet, but it will be. But if you want to use it, you can once it's published in a year and a half,
and it might be,
it
will be, it could be."
And that's the other thing. Everything we're talking about now is still very preliminary, hasn't gone through official letter ballot, but there's some good stuff in here, some things coming our way for some changes in NFPA 13.
So we kind of looked at TerraView, which some of our listeners might not even know what that is. So I guess to start out, could you kind of explain what TerraView is and how, if I was a contractor trying to figure out what's coming down the pipeline, if I could view that and what my access is?
Yeah, so TerraView is just NFPA's kind of platform for all of the standard development process for all their documents. So if you go on the website, any document you want to get to, nfpa.org/ write in the document number, and then just type in next right after that. That brings you to the standard development page for it. Then you'll have whatever the hot button's going to be for whatever the current cycle is. So it could be, insert a public comment or submit a public input, review the first draft report, review second draft report. And then just setting up for this meeting, I realized that as a committee member, we have a little bit better access than most of the average public. So like I mentioned, these changes, they're not officially balloted. As a committee member, I can see the kind of the proposed first revisions in my version of TerraView. I had Eric pull it up, and his thing looked totally different. I was like, it has none of the information I'm looking for.
Not as special as you.
And now I'm like, oh, okay, that's why people ask us all these questions. They can't see the behind the scenes stuff. Right. So,
but they can get a general gist of it.
So right now, if you're the non-committee member access, you can still see all of the public inputs in there. We didn't open up ones on Eric's account. I don't know if the responses to those public inputs are posted yet within TerraView because those don't get balloted. But the first revisions are not shown in the public access view. But luckily for us, I got the good access, and we can kind of
dive
into some of the changes that or clarifications that we're making for this next edition.
It does not appear.
So you get nothing. You just get to see the input, archive public inputs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
I wonder if they just buffered Eric's.
They might have just put you on the blacklist.
So let's try to start with changes that would maybe most affect a contractor.
So changes that most affect the contractor.
Let's
and even
start there.
Probably current requirements that most affect the contractor. And it's the requirement that no one ever follows is...
You're going to do it.
The owner certificate.
Okay. I thought we were going signage. Like, this is about to get reckless.
No, it's just owner certificate.
Okay.
So every project right there in section 4.2, we changed it last cycle to change the title of it to the basis of design for the owner certificate. And that was essentially to drive the point home that everyone's like, well, the owner doesn't know this information. How are they going to figure this out? You know, they don't know anything about fire protection. It's like, well, yeah, that's the point. That's why it's the owner or their designated representative, which is going to be a responsible design professional.
Now, when you say last cycle, you're talking about we made changes to the current,
to the 2025 edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go further too, because we all look at that as a fairly decent change, like a big change. To the person who reads this on a regular basis, just putting basis of design
As
like
a title.
How does that?
I mean, honestly, it like in all reality, it changes nothing because it was just a title, but it clarifies the committee's intent there, right? Like these things, that's your basis of design. Design is a special word in the construction industry because if it's the capital D design, that's for the engineering realm.
Okay,
that's where you got that SB position statement, kind of differentiating the roles and responsibilities of the engineer and then the engineering technician.
So lowercase d for design is
whatever you want to do.
That's what just do it. Okay.
I mean, like in our industry, I mean, everyone who does layout on sprinkler systems, we call them designers.
Right.
And, we're not trying to change that. It's just, there's a distinction between, being like the engineer of record or designer of record
right.
versus just, laying out the system.
So did anything within that, let me see. I feel like we have an extra paren in there. I was also just looking at the 2022 edition, so I might have missed one.
So the thing that we changed that's proposed to be changed for 2028 edition.
Yeah.
So the owner certificate itself is buried in the back of the book, right? So it's that sample form. It's not even in the annex to 4.2. The annex to 4.2 points you to chapter 29, I think, or 28. AFSA, through our technical advisory council, we put in a public input to try and bring that form into the body to make it more visible, present. We tried to add another
enforceable.
Yeah. Bring another section saying, hey, you don't necessarily have to use this form, but as long as the information contained on this form is provided, that satisfies the requirement. That portion did make it in, but at least we did kind of try and drive the point home a little more. We have a subsection now to 4.2, just stating that basis of design for the owner certificate needs to be signed by the owner or their authorized agent.
So what was the reasoning for not getting that design, the owner certificate into the body or into this front end?
It was really just they didn't want to be held to that form.
Okay.
And
you can have your own form with a little more information.
And having to review 600 PIs in the matter of a couple days.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
How many were ours?
We only have 50 this cycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many of those were particularly yours?
Only 50 this cycle. No, but like, so sometimes the context of the input doesn't kind of get through to the committee.
Yeah.
So they say, we don't want to be stuck to this form. It's like, well, yeah, that's what the subsection I wrote was for, to make it so it's kind of like NFPA 72 has that on their forms, and they have a form section saying,
right.
Hey, these are forms, but alternative forms are permitted as long as you can contain all the information. So we use that same language. Apparently no one put two and two together, and it got resolved, but that's what we got second draft for, to kind of drive that point home, hopefully.
Yeah, and
so is that your plan for second draft?
Oh, I got plenty of public comments.
He's got a lot of
for
tricks up his
draft.
sleeve. I think to drive the purpose home, if you haven't looked at section 4.2 in a while, you've got to have that owner certificate. That's going to be the driver of your basis of your design and your engineering judgment of that basis of design. If you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult to first off design the system, but second off, those change order conversations get a little more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I mean, if that's a service you want to provide as a contractor, good for you, but just make sure you're covered on your insurance end and you're getting compensated fairly for providing that service.
And don't get too frustrated when it...
Yeah. But I mean, but that 4.2 involves knowing everything about the building. You know, as a sprinkler contractor, sometimes we just need to know, hey, what's the reflective ceiling plan? What kind of mechanical, electrical equipment are you putting in? I need a floor plan, firewalls, all the stuff that we list in Chapter 28 for working plans. But
it gets in our way.
But classification of commodities, hazards, that involves a working knowledge of the whole process, systems, everything in that structure.
Awesome. So what else? Anything in Chapter 4 that's going to have a direct impact?
So this one, so you actually put this one in Josh. We talked
so
about
not
this.
49.
Yes, 49. Yeah. 49 or mine. One was Josh. Miscellaneous storage. So again, this we kind of all these changes kind of compound. That's why you think you get the book perfect last cycle, but it just opens up doors to new interpretations and new things you can clarify.
I don't know if you heard Matt's podcast, but he's like, every time I do this, I'm like, did we get nothing right for the last time?
Yeah, I listen every week to the podcast. So Matt's was funny. But it's like you think after kind of 60 editions, you get something right, but nope, everything changes every time. No, but so 2025 edition, we split up miscellaneous storage and low-piled storage tables.
Right.
Because people were just kind of convoluting them together and not applying correctly. And the one thing you clarified was, when you actually meet the definition of miscellaneous storage. So you got incidental storage to a non-storage occupancy. You meet all the other requirements, less than 12 foot of storage, class 1 through 4, group A plastics, separated by 1,000 square feet in separate piles, 25-foot separation, all that stuff. If you check off all those boxes, the benefit of calling yourself miscellaneous storage is now if you're a rack, the solid shelf rules don't apply to you.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. I'm going to keep kind of flip-flopping back and forth between previous cycles, this cycle.
Yeah.
So hold on tight. But essentially, 2025 edition philosophy went, hey, we're going to basically treat everything as solid shelf unless you can prove it otherwise. Right. And if you're solid shelf in a storage arrangement, you basically need in-rack sprinklers below every level.
For miscellaneous, which is crazy in terms of actual process at that occupancy.
Well, not for miscellaneous, though. This is what we were kind of clarifying that because people weren't understanding that, hey, if you meet that definition of miscellaneous storage, solid shelves don't matter. You just have overhead protection. It's an occupancy classification design approach. And that's all you got to do. Just do your design in accordance with Chapter 19.
Yeah.
So it's a good clarification, and I had a couple phone calls this week on that topic, and it was kind of like a light bulb moment. And like, oh man, I'm going to use that in my next project.
Yeah, and when you actually look at the true miscellaneous storage and with those buildings utilizing that, they're typically shelving racks, right? They end up with a solid shelf, and that process, I don't know. Without that, it's you put in racks and they can change it. Can you not hear me? You good?
Yeah, I got you now. I didn't have you in my ears.
He put me on mute. He said, watch out, this ITM guy is starting to talk about design. This is crazy.
There we go. Yeah.
All right.
He was trying to gaslight me, make me think I was deaf. He had my ears down.
I didn't touch anything over here, so maybe your hearing's just going bad.
It could be. That's a family trait.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is it all that noise from those Baltimore Ravens games?
That was sad. I flew into Dallas here on Sunday, caught the second half of the game.
It was like watching Madden, that whole game.
I knew it too. I was watching it. I saw it. I was like, all right, we're up 14 with 4 minutes to go. Like, we're going to lose it.
That's an okay loss, though. I'm okay losing that way.
I mean, so hopefully it's the opposite of what happened last year, right? So we beat the Bills in the regular season. They beat us in the playoffs. So I'm okay taking the loss in the regular season if we get the win in the playoffs. Look
at the statistics.
But they jinxed us, though, because they're like, all offseason, Ravens been working on the Raven Claw. They're focusing on fumbling, not fumbling, ball security.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry fumbles the football.
Yeah. Well, your statement just now makes a lot of sense in your personality because I mean, definitely a Ravenclaw if we're talking about
Oh, yeah,
or
right,
Hufflepuff.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Here we go. Yeah, I think I am. Yeah.
That's Anyways, we will move on to the next section.
We're not turning this into a sports Harry Potter podcast.
We can. It is. So what else we got here?
I mean, a lot of times some things just further clarification. I mean, one of the more kind of pedantic changes.
Oh, you want to? Can you go out and throw a definition there?
It's just like monotonous or kind of nitpicky.
Pedantic.
Yeah.
All right.
Pedantic.
Is that our word of the day?
I don't know.
Pedantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a.
Can you have a country of origin? I'm just kidding.
You don't ask me to spell it. But so like when we talk about air pressure tests, every year we have an argument. It's like, well, what's air? Like, what is nitrogen okay? Air, nitrogen, other approved gases. You have to say that every time it pops up in the standard. So now anytime when we're referring to air pressure, it's just going to say pneumatic pressure.
Okay.
So again, that's just kind of clarifying. So it's a pneumatic pressure test. Pneumatic pressure kept on the system has to be X to set the valve. So
I think if we filled it with helium, it'd be easier to install.
if it's an approved gas,
It's probably not. All right.
Oh, trying to think what else we got here. I'm just kind of scrolling through and seeing what we got on here. I mean, like underground stuff that really doesn't change much. That's all extracted from NFPA 24.
Yeah.
That's Bob's committee anyway.
Yeah.
So not too much. I think they only had
There wasn't
like
many.
6 PIs
Yeah.
submit that. I think
Wasn't
5
much
of them were
going
mine.
on. Probably. That makes sense.
That one wasn't technically mine. That we were on the AWWA Fire Protection Committee.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we submit on their behalf. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's one to talk about too. I mean, there is some like coordination we got to work with other industries,
For sure.
and so like definitely like water supplies. That's not strictly just a fire protection system. Those AWWA
That was
people,
good pronunciation.
yeah. They work with water distribution. They are the water purveyors for the most part. There's a couple fire protection people on the committee. Me and Kevin Kelly with Victolic. But
Yeah.
they call us the Kevins, the fire Kevins.
The Kevins, the fire Kevins. What are those discussions and committees like in comparison?
It's really those ones for like the AWWA committee. I'm really struggling with
That's
the
all right.
W.
Yeah, I mean,
Coffee.
yeah, you're only halfway.
Yeah.
That's-
Those are just good getting the other perspectives. I mean, any committee, you get the other interest categories and figuring out what other people's perspectives are on standards. And there are times I've walked in and been like 100% against a public input that I read, in my notes and say like, this is stupid. We're not doing this. And then we get to someone explain it. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah,
that's perfect.
That actually makes sense. Like, why can't I vote for that?
I think it's a big thing with a lot of this is like the more that you understand the perspectives, the less annoying certain sections get.
Yeah.
Right. Like sometimes we're just like, this section stinks. And then you hear that perspective from the building owner or AHJ, whatever the case. You're like, oh, okay, I got it.
But like for the changes in like the water supply, they have a real problem with a lot of the terminology in the normal flow test we do with 2 or more hydrants and the single hydrant flow test that got added a couple cycles ago.
Yeah.
And they really just want to clarify that, hey, it's not really residual pressure when you're talking about a single hydrant flow test because there is no second hydrant.
Okay.
It's just a pressure, and then you're figuring out the most amount of water that can discharge to atmosphere out of that hydrant.
All right.
So really that one's for hydrant capacity.
Okay.
The 2 hydrant flow test gets you your main capacity. And for fire protection systems, ideally we want you to use the 2 or more hydrant flow test to get the main capacity. But if you're in a pinch, I mean, as long as you're flowing system demand out of a single hydrant, you'll get an accurate enough answer to do your calculation. But the best bet is to open up multiple hydrants.
Yeah, which I mean that curtails into NFPA 25 as well, right? So you can use that as your 5-year. But when we're designing, we want that main. So that simple words, but it seems to provide clarification with that understanding.
But that was one funny one was when you mark those hydrants, they have some categories for the classifications. So like if it flows more than 2,000 GPM at 20 psi residual pressure, it's the blue cap or bonnet. And then they wanted to go even further because they have some high capacity mains just to differentiate higher values.
Yeah.
So the AWWA committee just, we just threw out there like, okay, well, next one's like purple for up to 5,000, and then yellow out. I forget what colors we picked.
Orange is the max, I'm sure.
And then ultimately, unfortunately I couldn't sit in on the NFPA meeting.
Right.
I had another one I had to sit in on. Kevin Kelly's texted me during the meeting saying, "Hey, they're kind of waffling over these new classifications. They want to know where you got these colors from."
What'd you do? Fuchsia and salmon?
No, I just texted him back. I said, like, the rainbow? I don't know.
Yeah.
We just picked colors.
Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv.
They weren't used before, and we just went with whatever color was available. They don't mean anything. It's just a color code. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, drive through Baltimore and everything's gonna be pink now.
Yeah. Well, that's like in Dallas. All of them are painted silver bodies and blue caps. Not for the Cowboys. That's actually what their
capacity
classified
is.
as.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're into chapter 7.
Yeah. So chapter 7, that's just your system components and hardware. I mean, that's more or less, how to list the individual
You
bits
scroll
and
up just
pieces.
a little bit. Temperature ratings.
Temperature rating.
Can we get the ultra high to like Uber high?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too, right?
Extra,
Yeah,
ultra high.
Very extra high.
yeah. They're asking where I got these colors from, and then when we do glass bulb temperatures,
Yeah, it's
you go from
Willie Nelson to Snoop Dogg.
orange, red, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then we got lazy and went black
Yeah.
for the last.
That's-
It's like, all right, so once you get above 375, you don't really know what it is unless you look at the tiny stamping on the deflector.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, nothing really crazy changed in here. I know there's some confusion over, or not confusion, I guess there's differing philosophies on, do you need to specify every single component that needs to be listed in the standard and to what standard it needs to be listed to? Or I think what we clarified in section 7.1, there's an annex note to the listing title, and that just provides a large table in the annex of all the typical listing standards in the industry.
That'll streamline the book a little bit and get the same point across.
But also, you don't need to say everything. Shall use a listed check valve. Shall use a listed control valve. It says if it's essential to system operation, it's got to be a listed product. So it's up to you to figure out what's essential and what's non-essential, I guess, at that point. But unless it specifically tells you otherwise, I would use listed components. But yeah, other stuff in there looks like nothing too earth-shattering in that chapter 7. So
it is nice every once in a while to go through an entire chapter and not have a major change.
Oh boy, yeah, system types.
So we're into chapter 8, system types. Kind of scrolling through here. Here we go. We got some water delivery clarifications.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really clarification. I don't know why this section's so hard to understand.
I don't either. I say
think
that, but up until 5 years ago, I didn't understand it as well as I should have.
So, I mean, we issued a tech update probably towards the beginning of this year, and it might be like an annual tech update just because people ask questions so many times. But
you need to make it a meme and make it a tech tip.
I mean, it's so it'd be like one of our tech tips from 5 years ago that
if we
were
just throw
novels.
a picture of Bob on something crazy, then
I already did that.
Yeah,
I got that.
Yeah.
So when should that be posted? That'll be posted in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But
probably the same time this episode drops.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the inspector's test connection on dry systems, I guess if because you have to write it in that legislative text and like the code and standard language, it becomes difficult to get the point across. But if you're able to like talk freely about it,
makes
it's
sense.
Kind of simple. It's like, okay, hey, you have a system. If you install a single inspector's test connection, so with one orifice, it's a 60-second water delivery time requirement.
Max. Yeah.
Max. If you choose to install multiple inspector's test connections and manifold them together in accordance with the table that you see in Chapter 8, which typically we use that for the fluid delivery time models. But you don't have to do the modeling. You can just physically install it in the field. and then use the times that they tell you in that table for your acceptance test.
So those times lower, and I think a lot of people also get hung up on the times lower, but it is still more beneficial because we're using more outlets to purge air quicker, right? So even
Correct.
though it drops by 10, 20 seconds, you're still getting the advantage of operating more heads.
Right, but the thing is, you don't have to do that. Everyone thinks if you're in an ordinary
Right.
hazard, extra hazard, high pilot system, you have to use that 50, 45, 40-second duration. But no, if you want to, no matter what the system type, no matter what the occupancy classification, okay, I mean, dry and double interlock reaction, but single orifice, 60 seconds.
Big asterisk here. Dwelling units, 15.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
one overarching exception. If you are protecting a dwelling unit, that has to have water delivered within 15 seconds. And that was one input we put in, not necessarily looking for a change, just for clarification.
Right.
And it ultimately did get rejected with a committee statement, which helped. But we said that the sleeping areas of dwelling units need to have 15-second water delivery time.
Okay.
Because
So-
we had issued some contractors mean it for maybe like a mechanical closet outside near a balcony, something like that, where it would have messed up their design with like a dry head that was poking out the door. But that got rejected, and they said, regardless of where you are in the dwelling unit, you need to have 15-second water delivery time. So I guess they're assuming your apartment, you might be sleeping anywhere.
We went to college.
Be incapacitated somewhere in that space.
We've been to college. It's not. That mechanical closet outside sounds great every once in a while.
But yeah, this is like the second cycle in a row that we've just totally uprooted 8.2 for the dry systems.
How about any conversations on the subject of freezing?
All I know is water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit here on Earth.
So until we get to Mars,
Yeah, the atmospheric
and then you
pressure.
have to find the water.
Yeah.
Minor details.
But yeah, I mean, that's basically the biggest thing for the Chapter 8 for the system types was just, tinkering with 8.2 for dry sprinklers again. And then we did find through answering our questions that the double interlock reaction systems, they were missing a lot of requirements.
Okay.
They should really kind of correlate with the delivery times and all the stuff in dry systems. So ultimately, I think we pointed back to that dry section so you don't miss stuff from cycle to cycle.
Do you want to hit that? The antifreeze?
Yeah,
placard.
I mean,
that's probably a good one.
that was one of ours too, I think. Let's see. Who submitted that? Oh yeah, there we go.
I'm surprised it was Kevin Hall.
Yeah.
Surprised.
So yeah, for when you use an antifreeze in any new system, NFPA 13 requires a sign to be provided. That's going to be beneficial for the inspector later on down the road, so they know what to replace the antifreeze with, what all the different design parameters were. Main thing that we did in section 8615 was one, just break it out to a list so it's easier to read. But the one thing that you might not notice right off the bat is that we included in that sign the minimum use temperature, which is going to be the lowest allowable temperature by the manufacturer, as well as the minimum design temperature. So there is a distinction between those two.
For sure.
So minimum use, that means hey, at least I can go down to negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
Short span is not going to matter.
It's capable to do it. Yeah, but it's going to affect your hydraulics.
Right.
If you stay within the minimum design temperature, maybe your product was listed for minus 25, but you're only installed in an environment at minus 10. So that means you took all of the physical properties of that antifreeze solution at minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, viscosity, specific gravity, all of that stuff factors into the hydraulics differently.
Yep.
So as it gets colder, it turns into more of a slurry and like honey
thicker
consistency, and it's going to have more friction loss. So at least hey, if I keep that design temperature at or above that level, you typically don't have to do any recalculations if you modify the existing system. If you have to go below that temperature, at least the solution is capable of doing that, but it's going to require some kind of verification of the calcs.
And then it also, I think this is big for our ITM people. This is talking about that antifreeze placard, the acceptable refractive index and specific gravity. That way that we're not having to find that, and we have all of the information that we need to get our testing done. So it's lined out in 13, or it will be potentially lined out in 13.
And now we just got to get NFPA 25 to correlate with a lot of this stuff.
Well, this will be helpful 20 years down the road.
Yeah. Which,
I love the optimism.
I mean, this one, yes, because it has to deal with future maintenance on the system. Not that the standard won't be adopted in jurisdictions for another 20 years, which is also could be an issue.
Potential.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Chapter 8, scrolling through some things. Nothing pneumatic. You'd be amazed how many times we say air pressure in the standard and have to change it to pneumatic pressure.
So, yeah, a lot of notations for a word change.
Yeah, like you said, it's good we can scroll through a half a chapter and not have anything change.
That's nice.
Then chapter 9.
Allowable omissions. We're starting to get into
installation of sprinklers.
Yeah.
So I think I talked about this last time I was on the podcast, but the main thing we were changing in chapter 9 and kind of chapter 15 was just getting those special sprinklers, which is a specific definition and criteria, versus non-special sprinklers in the right spot.
They're all special.
Yeah. The other thing was also cleaning up the organization of this section. So 9.1's like general requirements. 9.2, that's going to be allowable emissions. 9.3 is going to be special applications for the sprinkler. So where you need to especially put the sprinklers. And then 9.4 is use of sprinklers. So for those non-special sprinklers, which we're considering dry type sprinklers are not special anymore. Open sprinklers and nozzles aren't special anymore. Trying to think. Conventional old style sprinklers aren't special anymore. They got moved to section 9.4 for just use of sprinklers. They don't have any special discharge criteria, any special spray patterns for unique hazard.
So those eBay prices will tell you that they're special, but not in the standard.
Yeah.
What's that? There you go. The up a little bit. Your electrical closet.
That's just closets.
Presence of an electrical data.
That's just more dwelling units. So they saw like a little electrical panel in there, and it's like we're saying, hey, that's not enough to make it a mechanical closet. That's just in the dwelling
Good
units.
info, yeah. Narrow spaces along walls.
Yeah, this one was actually this was funny because there was like a perfect example in the room we were having the meeting in Salt Lake City.
Oh, that's cool.
So think about it as like those little like it's basically a ceiling pocket, but we specifically are addressing this because it's
the ones around the outer edge.
The outer edge that typically have like a curtain that goes up into it, or it's kind of inset a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically you're applying the ceiling pocket rules to it.
Okay.
But we're saying you're allowed to essentially omit sprinklers in that space. Even
with the
if
ceiling
it's
pocket rules.
Yeah, with the ceiling pocket rules. So that was more of a clarification than anything. But that's a good one because we all know you don't need sprinklers there, but it was kind of hard to point to.
How hard was it to come up with a title for that one though?
That's what was submitted. So yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, let's see what we got.
Yeah, it was narrow spaces along walls.
Narrow spaces along walls.
Huh.
Nice little figure on there too. But yeah.
Interesting. Sweet.
So kind of a combination of the ceiling pocket rules and that soffit rule.
Yeah.
So as long as it doesn't jump out more than 24 inches, who cares? You're getting enough water on the floor at that point to provide fire control. Let's see. We haven't done any. I think I talked about the general topics we kind of kicked down the road. We talked about ASRS systems and batteries and all that stuff.
We don't have to rehash that.
Parking structures, yeah. So, I mean, those are all going to be rehashed at second draft anyway. Yeah. They were more submitted as placeholders just because we didn't have enough information.
Were there any major changes to the seismic stuff with the potential of a new seismic standard coming out soon? Was there much discussion on that? Where'd that go?
No, so I didn't sit in the hanging and bracing meeting. Vicky's our rep on that one for us. But yeah, like it's kind of running concurrently with the NFPA 200 first development. But nothing major in there. We're just.
You said it's running concurrent. Are they trying to make the changes similar? And
that's it's kind of dragging on a little bit because they're because NFPA 200s are kind of in like a special continuous cycle now. We got a couple loose ends we're trying to wrap up. And like every change in 13 is like bringing up new things that they want to just quickly fix real quick on the other end. And
when do you think that would be like your
months ago? It should have been done months ago. This year it should wrap up this year.
Yeah. I
think the plan was hopefully to get it in front of the technical meeting next year in Vegas at for the NFPA conference.
Buffalo.
Yeah. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I think it's still technically in kind of limbo. It's still in that kind of continuous holding pattern. I haven't seen any notification that the second draft meeting's officially been adjourned and everything is finalized.
The frequency in Vegas must have you excited.
We've been in Vegas. Yeah, it's been the second year in a row in Vegas. I think it's just the lag from COVID. They got existing contracts you got to fulfill.
ESFR changes.
That's nothing crazy in ESFR.
That's like organizational,
and just that was more just making sure that you say early suppression, fast response at the beginning of the chapter, and then you can say ESFR the rest. So that's some of the cutting edge stuff that we discuss at the meetings sometimes. But it makes the document better in the end.
That was like the CMSA. I think that was last. It was like we would use CMSA, control mode specific application, large drop. You'd see it all over the place. Yeah. And it all meant the same.
Yeah, I mean, you even see that in the titles for chapters 13 and 14. Like chapter 13 is the installation of CMSA sprinklers, but then chapter 14 is the installation for early suppression, fast response sprinklers. So you can use the abbreviation for one, but not the other. That's just, more cleanup and stuff.
Yeah, but then chapter 23, early suppression, fast response, i.e. yes.
Actually, I've noticed that before. 4 storage applications. Yeah. It's like, it's in the storage chapters. What do you expect? I think there was something big in system modifications that was gonna.
Well, there's this quick response for the dwelling units that I think that's one of the big changes coming at 25.
Yeah, and that actually, that got cleaned up in chapter 30. So that's what I got up on the screen here. Prior to this change, essentially, if you had existing standard response sprinklers in a lay hazard occupancy, the standard allowed you to keep standard response sprinklers and replace them with standard response sprinklers. But as soon as you replaced them with one quick response sprinkler, now you got to swap out the whole compartment.
That reminds me, we got to do one of these for 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't sat down and
that'd be good.
Talk through those.
But this one is specifically saying once you get a dwelling unit now, if this gets approved, I think it was actually, it was probably mostly agreed to in the meeting. So it shouldn't have a problem passing ballot. But now it's like, hey, if you're doing work on a system in a dwelling unit, then and their standard response sprinklers, the standard says now you must change them out to quick response. Now work in that dwelling unit, that's not just, hey, I came in and had the plumber fix the toilet. Now I got to swap out all my sprinklers.
Yeah.
It's if you're doing work on the sprinkler system, if you make a modification or touch the sprinkler system in that compartment, then you have to swap them all out because that's what the technology is. It's the better practice for fire and life safety. But I mean, that's most of the stuff. I mean, the highlights I want to hit. I know there's a couple task groups. I'm chairing a task group on the contractors material and test certificate. So we're working on that. The committee ultimately agreed to move that back into the body of the standard. But our task is kind of go through that, make sure it's cleaned up to date. All of the requirements of that test certificate are in chapter 29. So you got it both.
Now refresh my memory on this. It used to be in the body, and then we moved it to the annex, and now it's coming back into the body. Correct.
Yes. So I think 2016 or 2019 cycle, we removed it from the body, put it in the annex again for that reason. Hey, we don't want to use this exact form. So because the body's enforceable, we put it in the annex. But that kind of everyone kind of loses track of stuff in the annex.
Yeah.
So in order to keep it visible, we brought it back in and then added kind of clarification that's saying, hey, you don't have to use this form, but as long as you contain all the information on this form, it's going to be acceptable.
So I think while we're here and kind of wrapped up the major changes in 13, do you mind pulling up 25 and we'll just hit a twofer?
Yeah, we can do that. We can. Luckily, I already have a presentation on the updates.
You sure do. That I need to format and get to Leslie for convention.
Yeah, I tell you what. I'll. There you go. And
I mean, I know I posted on LinkedIn, and it's out on Link, right? 2026 edition of NFPA 25. So we're gonna change gears in this podcast. We went from 13 proposed changes for 2028. What?
Yeah.
I feel like
you're switching gears here.
Switching gears, or do you not want to? Do you want?
No, we can switch gears.
We can switch gears. You're gonna hit the clutch.
No, that was just that's a catchphrase.
Okay, switching gears on the K Factor podcast, and we're headed into what is currently published for the 2026 edition of NFPA 25. And I think this will. Go. There's a few fairly major things to talk about. Not major, but things to be aware of. So go for it with your FR1.
Yeah, I mean, mainly just the scope. I think this is another one that goes back and forth all the time with the scope. It's a wear and tear document. You're not intended to verify the installation and design of the original system unless the standard specifically tells you to. Like it does in Chapter 8 for some fire pump stuff. It says verify against the original design.
Some of your storage obstruction.
Yeah, so that was added in to say unless specifically required by the standard.
Yeah. Inspection definition.
Yeah, this is where all my memes get into my presentations. Yeah. So there was I'm
going to pull up link here.
There's a proposal to make it so that the internal inspection of like a check valve, like of those bits and pieces, would be considered a test because technically putting your hands on it, but really it still is an inspection. So we added an annex note stating, hey, just because you had to open the faceplate, that doesn't preclude it from being classified as an inspection. But typically, as long as you keep your hands in your pockets, it's an inspection.
His memes are ridiculous.
I don't know why he's not
You can't see them, but who is that?
That's Kevin James.
Half of your memes, I don't know.
It's one of the reference. It's another Fire Kevin.
That's another Fire Kevin. So now we've got the Three Stooges.
Hey,
just kidding. Kevin Kelly, don't kill me for that.
This was Eric's.
This one was,
it correlated all the sprinkler definition types.
Basically, had definitions in there that were never used inside in the chapters and didn't matter or change what the inspections were. So, kind of changed some of that out.
Yep, and then correlate definitions for pressure regulating devices. Pulling those from NFPA 14. Made sure that was all cleaned up.
The good old qualified personnel conversation.
Luckily, this one wasn't too controversial. This one was really just moving specific requirements that would be at the jurisdictional legislative level and moving it to the annexes. Hey, these are examples of some certifications or licenses that might be required to be qualified.
This was the verbiage we added in Chapter 4, correct?
Correct.
To kind of give some guidance, and that was probably the wrong spot for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it needs to be in the annex But, I mean, hey, everyone needs to be qualified to work on the systems, inspect, test, and maintain the systems, but what requirements you actually have to check off for licenses, fees, all that stuff, that's the local jurisdiction's got to go through a legislative process, not just the whim of any AHJ along the way.
And I think this is also some good...
feels like that some days.
Yeah. Some good conversation when we go back to like Matt Klaus's podcast is like we also get in this world where NFPA is for the U.S., right? And our world is in the U.S., and we forget that sometimes it's adopted elsewhere, which some of those requirements might not exist.
But we still are not, it is not a legislative document. It is a standard. It tells you how to do something, not who, not what, not why, not where, but how.
Adding in. This one was always interesting to me.
Yeah, at this point, so you have all these like corrosion resistant technologies that we allow you in NFPA 13 to bump up your C value back up to 120. And basically that helps your hydraulics, but then you also have to make sure you inspect, test, and maintain it in accordance with NFPA 25, maintain nitrogen concentration on the system for the life cycle of the system. And there's always questions about, how long is too long for it to be out of service. Clearly, we're impairing the system to do maintenance on it. So there's some reports out on that's going to kind of clarify what C value we should use. But
so on the ITM technician basis, for our corrosion inhibiting systems, I know that's now a corrosion inhibitor, but the corrosion mitigation systems, the design documentation is super important for us to know that we've used that benefit of that C100 to 120, which we don't always have, right? But if that's the case, then there are some things in NFPA 25 now that we're going to have to pay attention to. And
that's why if I was doing the specifications, I would say, hey, this is a great product to use for the longevity of your system. It's going to save you on maintenance down the road. Don't take the C value credit.
It's not major.
It's not that. Yeah, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So I guess it depends on the scope of your project.
Right.
But ultimately, then it's like, hey, later on down the road, if you decide, hey, it's a pain, I don't like dealing with this, I don't want to deal with whatever type of system I chose, you can swap it out, and your system still works.
Yeah,
you just have a standard dry system, and you don't have to worry about it. But this main change was saying, hey, just because I started with a nitrogen generator doesn't mean I have to keep a nitrogen generator the whole time. You can switch to another technology that has that equivalent C value allotment.
Yeah. So question for you, since we've kind of talking both 13 and 25 here.
You mean those are supposed to correlate? That's
right?
crazy.
A lot of times one of the biggest complaints from our ITM technicians is that although that design documentation is supposed to be kept for the life of the system, oftentimes it's not present. Is this taking of the C value adjustment being captured anywhere else, or is it just in that design documentation, or is this something that's going to get added to maybe the general information sign or something like that?
I wonder if we have a line in there.
I think
that might make it a little bit more
that says
obvious.
I thought it was included on the general information sign. If the
I think
13 requires us to say, like, hey, this system has been calc'd at 120.
Okay,
but should there be a line maybe? And so now you're starting to see some of our discussion, which I think is kind of cool. When we start maybe think about a line in there that says if you can't find that documentation, then you're stuck back at that 100 and you have to.
If you don't know, you don't know.
So maybe a pointer might be for the 2020. No, just 2013.
Well, if you don't know, you don't know what to do, right? Because
if
it was installed per 120 and it's not maintained, they have to recalculate. If it wasn't to begin with, you don't have to do anything. So you kind of the lack of information means you just can't make a decision.
Yeah,
right. But doesn't that also mean that if you took that C value adjustment in Chapter 14, doesn't that also make you go do an obstruction investigation if you're not maintaining it? So that is.
But I think that's one of the changes, though, because in my opinion, just because you didn't maintain nitrogen on the system and you lost your C value, that doesn't mean you have an obstruction. I mean, we don't do an obstruction investigation for every dry system that doesn't use nitrogen. So to me, that doesn't warrant a full blown obstruction investigation. And I think
I agree with that.
and that was
I would agree with that.
That was the NITMAN.
It was,
that passed. So it brought it back to the 2023 language.
2023.
But ultimately, we want to bring it. So ultimately, we were stuck with whatever the last edition said. Yeah. So it just says, hey, where nitrogen is used for C and C value 120 and it's not maintained, that triggers the obstruction investigation. What was proposed in the 2026 was if you lose nitrogen at any time, you got to do obstruction investigation. And we're like, well, that's not. Right. Doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, not practical. Doesn't make sense. Information signs.
Oh yeah, we had a
very good
conversation about that.
We should probably bring that conversation here.
I mean, we're gonna do a tech update. We know for sure. I don't even know where to start with information sign. So information sign needs to.
I think the simplest thing to say for this is the general information sign in NFPA 13 was added for the 2027 edition. So ideally, all systems installed in 2017, 2007, and later should have a general information sign.
Yeah.
What NFPA 25 was trying to do is in Chapter 4. They said, hey, they don't say it, but they say it in this next edition. But where you don't have a general information sign, the owner needs to make this information sign that provides just a basic summary of
different things
on the system that would be good for the ITM
that we need
technician.
to know. Yeah.
But you're not supposed to have both signs. You have one or the other. We got some interps that there's some information that's not correlated, and it's hard to satisfy all the requirements between 13 and 25.
And we have a task group trying to basically, I mean, it is difficult because some of the stuff on the information sign wasn't necessarily required on the general information sign. That's where the issue was. Then there's some clarification in the current edition that says that you're looking for one or the other. And then there's a task group. We got a task group that's working on trying to align the signage.
Yep. But we did clarify in the standards saying, hey, if there's a general information sign, inspect for that. If it's not present or wasn't required at the time of installation, then
Look
inspect for the information sign. But you don't have to inspect for both. Fire pump. This
one was interesting. So one of the things, if you're doing fire pump testing, that you need to look for now is your circulation relief valve, taking a look to make sure that it closes after the test, which is, I mean, interesting because a lot of times once those small diaphragms start to fail, they'll leak past and we don't really pay attention to as much. Right.
Yeah.
But now we have to.
The other change here, it was more of an organizational change, but we've moved it out of Chapter 13 back into Chapter 8, which is probably where it belonged.
Right.
But,
yeah. So I dealt with me and John and Carl went through all like the valve stuff in Chapter 13, and basically, we moved the circulation relief valve that moved into Chapter 8, and also the main relief valve requirements moved into Chapter 8. Although I guess technically you could have a main relief valve on a standpipe system if you have two PRVs in series, but that's ultimately tied to a pump anyway. So
right.
If I was looking for it, I'd go to Chapter 8. That's logically where I think it would live.
Yeah, we can keep moving through.
Yeah,
some of these. I mean,
longer discussions,
and on top of it, I mean, you got to read the book. Like, we can't hit each one on one of these podcasts. Right. But
so Josh, this one was yours though for the pre-action deluge valves for the 5-year.
Yeah. So when you start looking at the internal inspection of pre-action deluge, there was that allowance of going to a 5-year internal because you had an
external reset. And then you start looking at the manufacturers, right? And a lot of them are using the same bodies. The valve's a good valve, and just by adjusting the change, adding a solenoid, a releasing panel, it turns it from a dry pipe valve to pre-action valve. And I think we submitted 2, right? We said just align them either every year like dry pipe systems or every 5. And we even went in the middle. I think we did a 3-year with the trip test.
It kind of wavered that way through the cycle.
Yeah.
But now all of them are annual.
Yeah.
And solenoid doesn't magically decrease my corrosion.
No. And that was actually an interesting discussion too, because I mean, we had everybody in the room, and even the manufacturer's like, yeah, I mean, you still have corrosion, probably should take a look. And so it was a very good discussion. So now internal inspections on your pre-action or deluge valves are every year, as well as the externally resetting for your dry pipe valve. So that was a good one to keep your eye out for. This one, the way that it reads makes it difficult.
Again,
to apply the hydrostatic testing FTC piping.
Yes, well, but for short pieces of pipe, so this one's for hydrostatic testing of FTCs, and if they're short, this revision in Chapter 13 is allowing you to omit the actual pressure test as long as you can visually inspect the entire pipe.
That's where I see it, because a lot of times these shorter runs are. The conversation that we had was like some of the buried ones that aren't supposed to be buried, but they are buried. And it says that you need to do a visual inspection, internal and external.
Yeah.
Which that external is going to be hard in some of those cases that they were trying to rectify.
Well,
right?
if it's short enough pipe, hopefully you can just take either the head off or at the check valve, break it apart, look down. That it should be easy to do. And if that's too hard, then pump it up.
Right.
But the issue we're having is for small pieces of pipe, a little loss of water is going to have more pressure effect on the system, proportionally. Yeah. But I mean, they put this change in. It was more of a practical change. And when I do the presentations, and people are like, "Well, why did we change it?" Yeah. And really, the answer was, it was just too hard.
Yeah, so true. Hard. So true. Yeah. Is this the addition that we had to clarify that it wasn't frozen pipe, but it was frozen water in the pipe?
Oh, that's next. Yeah.
Does
Yeah. Yeah. But before we get there, there's ice plug investigations. So
this was a good one.
Yeah, so that's an annual inspection currently. But if you use 98% nitrogen or illicit dry air pack, that brings the dew point down to a low enough value that where you have 2 successful tests, we're going to allow you to increase that frequency to 3 years. So that gets you a little bit of a benefit for using dry air or nitrogen in your freezers and coolers.
So I think the next and kind of last one we need to hit for sure is that dwelling unit one. And that actually, no, I mean, there's some good information on how to thaw out frozen pipe. Not
so
frozen pipe.
Yeah, so the frozen pipe. Yeah, so this is just more just kind of funny how we get nitpicky on the wording we choose. So first draft, we said frozen system piping is considered an impairment, and then the owner needs to, it needs to be thawed out and replaced. And at second draft, we moved that requirement to Chapter 4. Because there is no way for the contractor to know the extent of those ice plugs in the system. So it's like basically at the direction of the owner, figure out which pipes you want me to take out, lay out in the sun for a little bit, and then put back in.
Yeah, until you're in January in Rhode Island.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I guess we're anticipating to be like a freezer situation. You're not taking it outside in the dead of winter and hoping it thaws out at some point. And then at second draft, someone was like, well, technically, the system's not frozen. The system contains ice.
We don't want to thaw the pipe because it's in its frozen.
Yeah, because
we don't want molten lava.
Because if you thaw the pipe, you're left with, as Dr. Evil would say, the liquid hot magma. So I just thought that sometimes you got to find the humor in some of these
for sure
nitpicky things. But it's like, I guess technically you're right. Yeah, the pipe needs to be frozen in order to be able to hold our stuff together. So if it's in its liquid phase, I think the world would probably be ending at that point.
And if that's the other thing, like reading these books isn't fun, so we've got to have some sort of fun. I mean, it's fun for us nerds, right? Right. But like when you bring somebody in who their job is to design, and we dive into this book, we got to add a little bit of Dr. Evil and.
Yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah. I mean, that's why we're explaining the requirements. We're not reading them word for word, but we're getting the points across and.
Having a little fun in
between. That's how we do all our training too. Yeah. So like makes it easy to remember. I mean, I'm not going to remember the exactly thou shalt not put liquid hot magma in my system. But I'm going to remember, it's the water that freezes, not the pipe, and you got to check out as much as the owner wants you to pull out and thaw out for you.
So last one I think is a fairly big one that could is going to be a little time consuming and kind of a change.
This is a big change. I think
for sure.
A fairly significant impact.
You did the dwelling units?
Yeah. I think that's going to be our
it essentially correlates now with 13, what we talked about before. But yeah, I mean, after 50 years of service, you always have to do the testing on your standard response sprinklers. And then what we're doing now is saying, hey, for 50 years, those 50-year test requirements, if that standard response sprinkler is installed in a dwelling unit, it now has to either be replaced with a fast response sprinkler, or if it magically complies with a fast response RTI and doesn't exceed 65, you can leave it in there. Yeah. So it's a roundabout way to saying, hey, replace your dwelling unit sprinklers with fast response sprinklers.
One of the other things we should probably mention is that we did add the definition of dwelling unit in this cycle as well, so that we had a pointer to that, because the definition was only in 13 prior to
this. So now you know exactly what to and it is, I forget how it's specifically in there, but if I think it's the entire dwelling unit, correct? Not just the compartment of a dwelling unit.
When you pull up 13, I'll pull up the definition. The chapter it'd be chapter 5. The requirement itself.
Well, I guess it's 50 years. Like you're testing that whole area anyway, so it's one sample area.
So your dwelling unit's one or more rooms arranged for the use of one or more individuals living together as a single housekeeping unit, normally having cooking, living, sanitary, and sleeping facilities that include but are not limited to hotel rooms, dormitories, apartments, condos, sleeping rooms, and nursing homes and similar living units. So hotels, motels, Holiday Inns. Yeah.
And then the verbiage in chapter 5 in the testing section says where sprinklers have been installed for 50 years in dwelling units, one of the following shall occur. And that's that replace with fast response or test, and hope they get to the magical new fast response.
That's the
RTR
other thing. Again, with like being the international standard, I kind of don't like that second option being in there because it is an impossible test to pass.
Yeah.
So like, even though everyone should be qualified doing these things, I don't want someone to be like, well, it says you can test it, so I send it out for testing, and like it's just a waste of money.
Right. That kind of puts our contractors in a bad spot as well, because it's like, oh, well, couldn't you send them off? Well, technically, yeah, I can't. I'm going to tell you right now it's not going to pass, but like.
But also now you're in the gray area too, because 25 tells you to if you replace a sprinkler, it's like for like, you match K factor response type, all of that. Mm-hmm. But modification to existing systems in NFPA 13 says they all have to be replaced with quick response sprinklers if you take a standard response out of service in a dwelling unit. So again, that's where technically there is no correlating committee for 25 and 13. They are on different cycles. So there's always going to be something fixed, a little bit, which I guess is good for us.
Right. So I think this is a really, really cool, successful podcast. One of the first ones that we really dove into the weeds is, I mean, I am also going to be transparent with Kevin. Like, Kevin, you were leading it with most listened to podcasts there for a little bit.
Yeah.
However,
oh no, did Matt beat me?
Bob and Jeff Lewis are.
I listened. Jeff Lewis, that was
solid.
That was really good. I enjoyed. You could have him on every week. That was a good podcast.
But they're burying you right now. So let's see if we can get this one on YouTube, get a little bit of that, and some of this technical thing. We'll see what the listeners think.
I think the podcast that you had Matt on, I slowed you guys down. That's the first time I ever slowed a podcast down to listen to it.
Two Yankees talking quick.
So that's like 75% speed. I'm like, oh, that sounds like normal talk now. Okay.
It's so hard when I have, I guess, people from the Northeast in class. I think I
can talk fast, but you guys were just going.
We had a lot to talk about.
Going at it.
Had a lot to talk about. Yeah.
It was good, though.
So do you want to rechange your prediction for the Ravens record before
No,
we
I
go?
think that loss just enforces my prediction.
Okay.
Yeah, Super Bowl all the way.
I wish I had the purple Kool-Aid. No.
We only have red sports drink in our break fridge here.
Okay.
Yeah, so no branded drink. We're not good enough for that, I guess.
I mean,
whoever's buying,
maybe we need a sponsor.
Whoever's buying the snacks here for my design school.
So, sports drinks company out there, maybe we can throw one of those on the desk during the podcast.
AFSA Design School, sponsored by Sports Drink.
Well, really appreciate you having you on, Kevin. As always, we'll have some more of these, as I think this was cool as we get into some of these changes, second draft meeting. Thank you to our listeners. This one is probably definitely going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube. I think this might be the kickoff, right?
As long as that camera works.
Yeah. So,
he forgot to hit record.
Hashtag no filter for Kevin. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. This has been the K Factor Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share wherever you tune in to podcasts. Or head over to our website for more. Reach out to us anytime at technical@firesprinkler.org. Stay safe and always learn as we keep the fire protection conversation going.